We come from our future. How Vice magazine, the hipster movement, and an experimental tech millionaire brought forth the New World Order.
1999, beneath the ground frost of the bustling New York City streets, a subterranean movement, hidden in an unmarked building of a downtown New York City relic, would change our future. 100 souls willingly took part in an experiment where an army of robotic eyes, blinking webcams, and dozens of microphones documented their every move. Josh Harris's Quiet, We Live in Public, a social experiment where he placed 100 artists in an underground terrarium designed by artist Jeff Gompertz, documented and tested the bounds of the human psyche's ability to adapt and metamorphose eyes around technology, was dismantled by former NYC Mayor Giuliani before they could fulfill its mission, but has become the seminal work around reality TV, the rise of social media influencers, and the phenomenon of designing a self for public consumption. But Harris's experiment wasn't the only movement that permeated the culture in 1999. While the media ratcheted up fear around Y2K, another far more insidious movement was gaining traction. One that was less confined, more fluid, fun, and consumable for the culture. Vice magazine, formerly Voice, the Canadian counterculture magazine, designed to give the formerly incarcerated and underemployed an entree into media, gained backing by Canadian tech entrepreneur Richard Solwinski, and moved its headquarters to New York City, capitalizing off of the hipster subculture that was beginning to gain mainstream attention. The timing was perfect. A new aesthetic and visual culture that used ironic detachment and an embrace of both the obscure and the mainstream was the perfect vehicle to shift the culture. Unfortunately, Gavin McInnes, one of the co-founders of Vice, hitched its wheel to movement, setting us on a collision course with an authoritarian future. Hipsterism's ironic candor made space for meaning to be twisted and repurposed. The visual cues were seemingly innocuous, but what emerged was an insidious design where the blue-collar uniform of graphic tees, tanks, and plaids, the uniform of a youth counterculture desperately trying to make its place in the world, was weaponized, crafting a contemporary fascism and white supremacy. McInnes and his cohorts began to canonize and romanticize the gaze of its subjects, drawing inspiration from the early architects of fascism, who understood the importance of visual culture in creating a movement. The magazine did not stop at visual storytelling, and slowly leaned into carefully crafted language that furthered the narrative of the need for the phoenix to rise from the ashes, and subsequently designing the alt-right movement. By 2010, the subtle whispers became a deafening roar when McInnes began to blatantly begin saying the quiet part out loud. McInnes, who later founded the Proud Boys, in an interview with the New York Press in 2002 stated that he was pleased that hipsters were white, drawing backlash. In true McInnes fashion, he brushed off the statement as a joke, an irony aimed at the boomer New York Times. This was only the beginning for McInnes, who spent his career throwing rocks and hiding his hand. He left Vice in 2008 citing creative differences, but his next chapter would be the magnum opus in his pursuit to make fascism chic again. His anti-Semitic, racial, and transphobic slurs and his penchant for inciting violence began to be tracked by the Southern poverty laws and inspired a new generation of racists. And though Vice Media has since shifted gears, creating some of the most insightful, provocative, and compelling content in the media space, there has been a code of silence by legacy media when discussing McInnes and Vice. The Proud Boys, which was started when he was still at Vice and have participated in two of the most violent uprisings in modern American history, the Charlottesville March and the January 6th insurrection, is something that we cannot gloss over, and the media's decision to do so is disheartening. After watching the media for decades Leoneize white criminals and demonize POC victims in the wake of racial violence in America, I'm speaking of the high-profile shooting of black men and women in America, makes me question if it was all part of the grand design, because vision is nothing more of a fevered dream without design. Buried in the internet archives, only to be remembered as a digital footnote, Josh Harris, who was last seen in Kenya, and is rumored to be plotting his return to tech. The hipster movement, the wave Vice magazine rode, has crashed. Its ephemeral air and fleeting trends oversaturated the market and proved to be unsustainable. Vice, who was the voice of a generation, has been in threat of shuttering for some time now, a testament to the fickle nature of cultural relevance. As for McInnes, he has been eclipsed by a new crop of right-wing influencers, bolstered by algorithms that he could have never fever dreamed of in his vice years. Despite fading into the background of digital saturation, these figures and movements have had an indelible mark in shaping the visual language of technological reality. The curated symbols of victimhood and martyrdom, coupled with a digital echo chamber, has brought their dystopian vision for the future into reality. And though we can all agree that we might be better off without it, it's important to note that we come from our future, that every choice we make sends us on a trajectory, a set of outcomes that shape our future. Be sure to take care and be mindful of your actions on and offline. If we don't take heed, it may set you on a collision course with disaster. And always remember that the past, no matter how unsettling, holds vital lessons in helping us circumvent a perilous future. In the words of Sarah Connor,